Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, because I always talk about Dungeons and Dragons every single time I'm on this channel. Okay, so the topic for today is Strongholds for the Lost Mine of Phandelver. Were you wondering, all those videos I was doing on Strongholds, was that leading up to something? Could have been. Maybe I had a plan. This is a Dungeon Master guide for Dungeon Masters, not for players. If you're a player, this is not the video for you. Come back when you've finished playing the Lost Mine of Phandelver and you can watch this video if you like. But this is for the Dungeon Master. So stick around if you're Dungeon Master. If you're a player, go watch one of my other videos for now. There are a few locations in the Lost Mine of Phandelver that players' characters might like to turn into a stronghold or a home base or a base of operations. It's been pretty obvious from the very get-go, and the question keeps coming up, and therefore I decided it was time to actually talk about it. All the players' characters have to do is clear out all of the current squatters, monsters, creatures, beasts, and so forth, in some cases, that are lurking in those locations. I'm going to talk about 5 different possibilities. Not every single possibility, just 5, and I think that's enough. Number 1 is Cragmaw Hideout. It is a cave complex. It is occupied by Clarg and the Cragmaw goblins. Yes, we need to get rid of them first. It's got a reasonable number of locations and rooms within it, so it could make a decent home base for your players if they wanted to use it. There are a couple of things we need to consider though. Security. Security consists of 2 dams that can be released, washing the enemy away, which they probably already experienced. A very high bridge that overlooks the entrance, very useful, but there is no light source, so that's a bit of a problem. But you could put light sources in. There is a side chamber right next to the cave entrance where you can put like a guard beast or animal. It has a partially hidden cave entrance, useful. The only problem I would say with this location is the waterfall. It makes far too much noise and could conceal an intruder who is walking into this location. So their footsteps wouldn't show up. Their talking, their navigating the location would probably be hidden. Something that the players' characters have already exploited. So something they might want to correct. There are no major repairs or any repairs really to make to this cave. It requires nothing much. It is a primitive cave, so it's not super impressive. It's not like the Bat Cave or anything like that. What it does need is it needs an alarm and a trap in the cave entrance and on the chimney. Now, if you're going to keep the chimney, you know what I'm talking about. That's that little chimney you can get past the wolves, climb up, and that's where Clarg used to hide until, of course, he either gets beaten or killed or defeated or whatever. You want to block that up or put a trap or an alarm on it. Otherwise, there are going to be problems. I'm not going to talk about how long it would take to make repairs to this because I don't really think that repairs to this location are necessary. I think everything is essentially there. All it needs is those 2 things and it's fine. How much would that cost? Probably very, very little. I don't think it's a huge cost to the players' characters. Okay, number 2 is Phandalin has many abandoned houses and cottages that are occupied currently by normal pests and insects and stuff, maybe some rodents that need to be cleared out. So just because I've shown you a map doesn't mean that's the only structures that are there. These are the structures that are currently, I guess, in peak condition rather than broken down. Remember, Phandalin was a small town or settlement that just got abandoned due to lots of trouble over the ages. So there's locations they could use. These houses have no security unless you count the neighbourhood watch. I wouldn't say the neighbourhood watch is terrible, provided that the Redbrands are out of town, but it's not necessarily the only thing you want in your cottage or your house if you're going to go nice and simple. It's a very basic house, but it's close to the utilities, the shops, and the town master. If that's the sort of thing you like. It feels like I'm talking about real estate right now. It does seem like that. No, I'm not. Okay, we are coming to a point. it needs major repairs to the building. Now, you could say that the cottage or house they select requires major repairs or needs minor repairs or something in between. It doesn't matter. It's really up to you. This is something that the Dungeon Master could put out there and just make up, rather than trying to abide by the limited information that is available in the Lost Mine of Phandelver. What would this house require or cottage require? I would say a guard dog, if you like wolves or some sort of beast or animal, but a guard of some kind, some alarms, possibly some traps, or at least strong locks on the doors and windows are advised. All of the normal things you would do to your own home, not necessarily to a Dungeons and Dragons location. Now, I'm not going to talk about the cost, about how to do any of that, because you can make all that nonsense up yourself. I will get to the cost of other things, don't worry. Number 3, the Redbrand hideout is an old cellar to Tressendar Manor. Well, that's the manor's ruins, because the manor is all but crumbled down by now. It has been upgraded by the Redbrand bandits, which is awesome. That means that there's probably very little that needs to be done to the hideout once the bandits have been cleared out. Excellent news. The only problem is that this particular location is dependent on 2 major factors. First off, security is based around a hidden front entrance and a hidden rear entrance, of which the rear entrance is actually known by individuals within the town, because Carp has been running around spreading rumours because he found it. But it has no decent traps or alarms in the right position, which is why when the players came through here, they were probably able to deal with glass staff pretty easily. So alarms and traps in the right places, and that means on the entrances. Even though they are hidden, they should still have those sorts of things there. Putting traps. Now, there is a trap. Somebody's going to say, there is a trap, Fred, in the Redbrand hideout. It's in the middle of the complex. What a pointless thing to do. Put it near the beginning. Not necessarily in the most obvious location, but near the beginning, not somewhere else, not in the middle. You don't try to deal with people once they've already broken into your own home. No. Okay. This is an underground lair. It has been renovated recently, but it does need some work. So things like broken doors, rotten bridges, yes, we remember the rotten bridges, alarms, traps, improved secret doors, because some of these secret doors aren't very good. I've already kind of talked briefly about that, and some way of keeping Carp Elderleaf quiet about the rear entrance. Oops, that's too late, he's already done that. So you're going to have to deal with the rear entrance. Whether you change the rear entrance or whether you fill it in, that's up to you. Now, somebody's going to say, what about if my players want to rebuild Tresendar Manor? How much would that cost and how long would that take? Well, about 25,000 gold pieces is the cost of building a sort of a smallish sized manor rather than a big huge castle or palace. So that's your cost. So I would take that cost, and dependent on how much you think can currently exists of the structure, trim a little bit off that 25,000 GP. How long would it take? Well, if you're building it from scratch, about 150 days, which is about 10 days. So there's your time frame. So that long, maybe cut off a little bit as well to make it a little bit shorter. Okay, number 4, I believe, is Cragmaw Castle. Don't you worry, we're going to get to that. I knew you were worried about that one. Cragmaw Castle is a ruined fort that Clark Grull of the Cragmaw tribe currently rules. This is probably one of the biggest locations that players will be really drawn to sort of take ownership of. And I completely understand their excitement around doing that, because a lot of the structure is still there. There are problems, yes, we can see them, but they can be sorted out. The only problem is it's going to be expensive. So what are the benefits of having a castle? Thick reinforced stone walls peppered with arrow slits that you can shoot out of, which is great. There is enough space on the first floor for the entire adventuring party, and probably no matter how big that adventuring party is, you could squeeze everybody in and have their own room and maybe a workshop and a training location, an eating place and a kitchen. So there's quite a bit of space in there. So what do we need to do to this to bring it up to scratch? What do we need to actually do? There are, in fact, major expensive repairs required to seal wall breaches, replace the upper floors because only the first floor currently exists, and there were more floors than just the first floor. So if you want to put in the rest of the castle, you might have to build the rest of it up. Now, provided that the bottom structure is still intact and solid, and as a dungeon master you could say it is or it isn't, that's up to you, but kind of pointless if they have to bulldoze the whole thing and start from scratch. I would certainly insist that they install alarms, although that's really up to them if you don't have to necessarily insist, but it would be sensible to put in an alarm system in the right locations, certainly on the entry points, completing the roof section, replacing some of the doors, particularly since the front door is no longer there, setting up some traps in the right location rather than inside the castle itself where somebody might hurt themselves. So setting up some sort of trap system. Now whether that is a pit or putting in a moat, because a lot of castles will have a moat, hiring some guards. Yay, we've got to have guards to actually man this place. It's a big fort, essentially. So how much cost? It's about 50,000 gold pieces. Oh my God, that's a lot of money. And it's about 400 days to actually build a castle of this size. So that means take those numbers, 50,000 GP, trim a bit off, saying you don't have to build the whole thing, and then 400 days, well, we're going to trim off that and make it a little bit shorter, and that's the length of time it's going to probably take the entire campaign to rebuild it. And there you go, you have yourself a castle. Okay, number 5 is Wave Echo Cave. It uses the natural formation of rock and artificial construction of a mine, and it was stolen by the Black Spider's forces. Or the Black Spider, if you just want to say. The forces aren't really that interested, it's the Black Spider who's doing all the work, right? Or something like that. Okay, so there are no security systems whatsoever in this location currently. If they have cleared it out, there won't be any security system whatsoever. But it does have a fantastic, large indoor swimming pool and many chambers where they can sleep, eat, do whatever, and there's a spell forge. Now, if you don't want the spell forge to be able to make magic items, it can just be a workshop or a forge for forging weapons, armor, making equipment for the mine itself, all those sorts of things. It's quite a cool location, but it does have a few problems, and I'm going to talk about those. This is a massive cave complex, and it needs the following. There are many passages that need to be unblocked. It needs to have alarms and traps and guards in the right place. Otherwise, and obviously the front entrance is absolutely the most important place to put them. And it needs to have flocks of bats. If you don't have bats in a cave like this, then how can you possibly make your own Batman cave? You want a bat cave, you've got to have bats. The back routes to this location are not completely obvious because there are water sources there, but if you don't block up the back routes or find some way of putting in some protective measures, the whole place is going to wind up being infested and undead yet again. So we don't want that to happen. So what do? Deal with those issues by making sure we have some provisions, alarms, traps, guards, those sorts of things. You can even throw, if you like, some sort of creature into the water to protect those locations so that things can't get through. I would select a beast or creature that likes to eat undead creatures, or undead creatures and living creatures, something like that. So how much does it cost to set up a mine? Because that's the question that your players are probably going to ask. I would say about 5,000 gold pieces to actually get the mine operating at full capacity. Its capacity to make money is going to be long term, but there is a lot of infrastructure already there. So take that 5,000 GP, trim it down by whatever number you like. I don't mind what you do with that because it's your game. And how long would that take? I would say about 60 days to build the complex if you have the right number of manpower. But you can trim that down. Remember, it already has structures in there, so you don't have to worry about absolutely everything. Did I cover everything? Probably not. Have I covered enough? I certainly hope so. If you found this video useful and helpful, fantastic. As it happens, I have quite a lot of videos on the Lost Mine of Phandelver, which you might find useful. There are playlists. I have the live stream playlist. I have the edited playlist. You're welcome to go and check those out. If you're not interested in the Lost Mine of Phandelver, but you're interested in stuff around players and dungeon masters, I have general dungeon master advice and player advice for Dungeons and Dragons and 5e. You're welcome to go and check those out. If you want to support the channel so I keep doing stuff like this, well, I've got the normal things that most YouTubers have. I've got the Patreon page, I have the affiliate links to the book depository and Amazon, I have a merchandise shelf underneath all of my videos, and I also have ads running on my videos so you can just watch the videos if that's all you can do, and that's fine, no problems. Now, make sure to share, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos, and that happens quite a lot as it happens. And until next time, keep rolling those 20s.